To see you all. Hope everybody's doing okay. As you know, we're going to talk about stress management today, and hopefully you guys are managing stress okay. I know we have a lot of that out there, and hopefully some of these things we talk about will help you to manage it a little bit more effectively. So getting started, let's talk about Blomquist just for a second. So some things with Blomquist is we're here to help with any life challenge. So anything that's difficult for you is what we want to talk about and what we'd want to work with you on. So if that's stress, it's a perfect thing to talk about. If it's talking about your kids or jobs or COVID-19, whatever it is, we're here to help with any of those things. So it's free for the businesses that we cover, and most of you guys are going to be businesses that we have, and so it's free for you. It's 100% confidential. So you don't have to worry about your employer or anybody else knowing that you came in or anything that you said. A lot of the sessions are phone or video counseling. In some of our areas, we're starting to open up where we're meeting with people in person if you feel comfortable with that. If not, we're more than happy to still do the phone and the video sessions. We always have a 24-hour crisis line. So if you're ever in a crisis or there's something really difficult going on, please give us a call. It's the same number that you would call to get an appointment, and you can talk with us right away, and we can help you 24 hours a day. So most of our hours that we're in the office is usually around from 8 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. in the evening. A little bit different on Fridays and Saturdays. Saturdays we're there from 8 to 3, and then Fridays we end at 5. So still there to help as much as possible. So it's simple to make an appointment. All you have to do is call the number and just say, hey, I work for this business and I'd like to meet with a counselor, and they'll get a little contact information and get you set up with an appointment right away. You don't need to bring an insurance card. You don't need to bring a copay, anything like that. So really, really simple to make an appointment. And as Heather talked about, we do have that YouTube page now, Blomquist. Tons of different presentations on there. I think there's about 45 of them. And so on all different things from parenting to suicide prevention to stress to everything that you can think of. And we're going to be putting more on there. So it'd be great if you subscribe to that channel, and then you'll know every time when they come up. So thanks for being here. Well, let's get started on talking about stress. And then as Heather said, if you have any questions or comments, please post them. And I might get to them as we're talking, but for sure we'll get to them at the end. So let's talk about what is stress. So stress has been called our #1 health problem in America. So it's a big deal. It's estimated, I thought this was an interesting stat, that it's estimated that 75 to 90% of the visits why we go to the doctor are stress-related issues. So we don't go in there and say that, that I'm stressed out, so I need medication, or I'm stressed, that's why I got sick, or I'm having high blood pressure or a heart attack or whatever it is. But stress is a huge contributor to those types of things that are causing us difficulty and making it so that our body can't handle it as well. The World Health Organization, we've heard about them a little bit lately. They say this is a worldwide problem. So it's just not just here in America. So stress in general is the wear and tear of everyday life. This presentation is called stress management, not getting rid of your stress, because it's impossible to truly get rid of it. It's something that's going to be with us forever. And it's going to be with us forever because we're always going to have relationships, and most of us are always going to have to go to work, and we're going to think about money, and time's always an issue. How do I prioritize it? What should I be doing with my time? All of those things are going to make it so stress is a part of our lives. And so what we want to do is we want to learn how to manage stress more successfully so that when we have it, we're able to cope with it and we're able to be positive and be able to be successful to manage it rather than I don't want to ever have any stress. It's just not possible in our lives. So one important thing to think about for you guys in thinking about stress is, what are some of my warning signs of stress? And as you think about it, I'm going to put some of the things that people have said in the past on the screen. This is a ton of different warning signs that let us know that we're stressed. And it's important to know what your warning signs are so that you know when you're feeling stressed, when you're struggling, when you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. A couple for me that I can think about, if I'm stressed or thinking about something and then I try to go to sleep, it's something that keeps me awake. And I have to do some things to make it so that I can go back to sleep or reduce what I'm thinking about to ease some of that stress. I also, get like a knot in my left shoulder blade seems to be a place that I feel stress. So for you guys, it's real important to know what are the warning signs for you. What lets me know that I am stressed? And that'll help along the way. So these are some of the things that stress does to people. It helps us, it makes us so that we're able to handle less things. We're not able to take on more things at work. And then when we're given more responsibilities, then it's too much and we get overwhelmed. The same thing with, things in our lives. We can get overwhelmed a lot easier if we're stressed. We talked about the health problems part of it. Relationships really struggle because of stress. And I think we all can think of different reasons why. One of the big ones is it's a lot more difficult to communicate successfully when you're stressed. And so communication, I'd say two things that I talk about with clients more than anything else. I'm talking about individually with clients, stress is the biggest one. If I'm talking to couples, it's always we struggle in communicating. And so when we're stressed, it's so much more likely that we're going to communicate unsuccessfully. So that's a big part of relationships and managing stressful situations is learning how to communicate successfully even when we are stressed. And if we manage stress better, then we're able to communicate more effectively. There's kind of this negative spiral with depression and anxiety. When we're stressed, then we start to do things, we intensify the bad, and we just look at the bad things that are happening. And it's a lot less likely that we're able to see the good things that are happening in our lives. So that's a very, important thing of stress. So for you guys to help you to be more successful, I got you a stress reduction kit here. I don't want you to use this kit too often, but I'll put those up for you. I'll let you read that for a second. But like I said, don't use this stress reduction kit too often, but it is good for us, for one, to laugh from time to time. And so that's one of the best things that we can do is be able to do things that are enjoyable and to be able to laugh and to do fun things and get out of our own heads from time to time. So laughing is a huge stress reliever. Stress can be good, which is an interesting thing to think about. It's a different type of stress. It's more of this eustress idea. And with that, when we have a eustress, that's something that we interpret as, it's only a moderate amount. It's not overwhelming. And we see it as a beneficial thing. So it motivates us. It focuses our energy on something that's important to us. and we see it as short term. And it's perceived to be within our coping abilities. It can feel very exciting and actually can improve our performance. So I'll give you an example of this. In my life, as Heather said, I recently became the clinical director in Orem. And so that in itself is a great thing, but also comes with a lot of stress and hopefully the stress, where it's motivating to be in this position. It's something that I want to do and would enjoy supervising other people, along with meeting with clients and trying to help them. I see this stress as more of a short-term stress. Once I get a handle on it and learn everything that I need to about the area and the people that I'm working with and how to do this job, then I'm going to reduce the amount of stress that I feel because of it. I believe it's within my coping abilities. I believe that, they wouldn't have put me in this position if they didn't feel like I could do it. And if I wouldn't accept the position if I didn't feel like it was something that I wanted and could do. So as you can see, this can actually improve the performance and can make me excited about taking this different position, even though it does cause stress. So that's kind of the stress that we're talking about. This is kind of a graph that kind of shows that to you. So I think we've all been in jobs before that didn't really put any pressure on us, didn't put any stress on us. And so with that, maybe our performance was low because there wasn't very much expected of us. We didn't have to try that hard because, there wasn't a lot of pressure. There wasn't a lot of expected. So you want to be more in the middle. You want to have a little bit of pressure. You want to have a little bit of stress, but you don't want to be overwhelmed, or our performance will actually go in the negative. So something to think about with that. So determining this stress or this distress. So it's usually our perception of the stressor is what determines, is this going to be a distressing event, or is this going to be a motivating, helpful, stressing event? So one thing to think about with this is this a challenge that I can overcome, a challenge that it can be motivating and exciting, or is it an obstacle that I can't do anything about, that I'm stuck at the bottom and I can't climb up? That's when it becomes a distressing event, is when we see these things as obstacles that we can't overcome. So let's talk about, creating this stress type of situation. So I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of cognitive behavioral therapy before.
Yeah.
And just for everybody, if you guys can mute yourselves, that would be great. If you have something to say, please unmute yourself. But just so it's quiet for everybody, please mute yourself. So if we're trying to create this stress, so situations happen, and this is the cognitive behavioral therapy model. So situations happen that we don't necessarily have control over. But what we do have control over is what our thought is about that situation. And sometimes our thoughts happen really fast without us controlling them. So we can think, so we might have to go back and change what our thought is. So a situation happens, and then we have a thought about it. And then after that thought comes emotions. So go back to the job thing. If we have, so say we get a new job and our thought is, this job is so overwhelming, or they're not, my employer, they're not trying to help me very much. Then your emotions are going to be frustrated or upset. They're not going to be positive. And those emotions are going to lead to behaviors that are not going to help you to be successful in that job or new role or as a parent, whatever it is. And so situations can happen just the same, but really it's our thought that matters and what we decide to believe our thought is about the situation. So as much as possible, remember that you can change your thought, and that thought is going to lead to an emotion, and that emotion is going to lead to your behaviors. So I want you guys to think about that a little bit more as you guys go and as you have things happen throughout your lives. Okay, so this is a quote that I really, really like by Viktor Frankl, and Viktor Frankl was a Jewish guy that was in a Nazi concentration camp. And he has a fantastic book. It's called Man's Search for Meaning, that this quote kind of came from. So, and it says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So one thing I want you guys to think about with that is, this is kind of the cognitive behavioral model, but so there's a stimulus, something happens, and then there's the response. We get to choose what our response is to that stimulus, and then that's how we grow and gain more freedom. Or we can reduce our growth and reduce our freedom by allowing that stimulus to determine our response. So this is a very impactful, quote, and something that's really a really helpful thing. This is why Stephen R. Covey read this quote, and from that he came up with his books, his book of the 7 habits of highly successful people, or something really close to that. So that's where he became motivated to write that book from. So I want to tell you about a TED Talk that I really like. Let's see if there's a question here. Yeah, and somebody put on there that it's sometimes difficult to change your mindset. You are totally correct about that. It can be difficult at times to change your mindset. But what we know is, if we're able to change it, then you're going to feel a lot happier. Your emotions and your behaviors are going to follow that. And sometimes it's helpful to examine why you have that mindset. Why do I think like this? Sometimes we struggle with control in that mindset. Some things are out of our control. And so we really have to focus on, what can I control? What can I do to benefit from this situation? How would my life be different if I did change that mindset? Is that worth it to me? And kind of thinking about it in that way. So a really good comment. It can be difficult for sure. I totally get that. So with this TED Talk that I wanted to tell you about, Kelly McGonigal, a health psychologist, that's a picture of her, has a great TED Talk and books that kind of go with it. But her TED Talk's called How to Make Stress Your Friend. And I really, really like it. Like I said, it's probably 15 minutes long. I would suggest all of you guys, going and watching that. I think it's been watched over 20 million times now. I for sure have watched it a good 20, 25 times. So it's a good one. But what she says in there is, how you think about stress matters. And she'll say that she used to tell people, hey, let's find ways to not have stress. Let's get rid of your stress. And as we know now, we can't really get rid of our stress. We can cope it, and we might be able to reduce some things that are stressful, but totally getting rid of it is not what is going to help us. And why they said that, and that was an important thing, is because it does have health consequences, as we talked about it. One thing that she's found through her research is people that have stress in their lives, but view it as, this eustress or motivational or can help us, or even though it's difficult, I'm going to be able to get through this. Those people are actually healthier than people that say they have no stress. So your body actually reacts very positively towards what you say in your mind and what you think. So it's a really, really helpful, like I said, TED Talk. She goes on to say how you view your physical response to stress, which is your heart beating faster, or even sweating, or even your mind's racing. If you can view those things as your body helping you to prepare to meet the demands of stress, then you're a lot healthier. And like I said, stress doesn't do any damage to our body. Our bodies are actually set up to handle stress and actually repair damage that stress does. She talks about human connection and how connecting and helping people and being a part of different situations and being there to support each other actually has a huge effect on reducing stress and any health consequences that stress would have. So if you like her TED Talk, which I think that you will, her book is called The Upside of Stress, which I really like, and goes into more detail about stress and how to manage it more successfully. And then she has a more recent book called The Joy of Movement that talks about exercise. And exercise is a huge part of a healthy life and a healthy body and ways to manage stress. So her stuff I like a lot. I like this reservoir metaphor when I'm thinking about stress. And as you guys look at this picture, I want you to kind of think about what a reservoir is trying to do. And so as you see, water's coming out of that reservoir. And that could be for drinking water, or just to slow it down, or for electricity, whatever it is for. And then you have to have water coming into that reservoir, or before long, it's going to look like a desert, and it's not going to be able to do its job anymore. This metaphor is very similar to what we're talking about with managing stress. You always are going to have things that are going to take, that water out of your ability to manage life. And so some things to think about with that. For you guys, I want you to kind of think about what drains water out of your reservoir. And if you let it go on too long, it becomes this desert-looking idea. But what takes water out for you? Some things that I've thought about and are a part of what we've talked about in the past are work is one of those things that takes water out of our reservoir. It's a needed thing, and our lives wouldn't be as great without work to some extent. Overworked is bad. Good work that you believe in and you feel like you're making a difference and you're making money to support your family can be a great thing. But it comes with some stress. Relationships obviously are fantastic things, and things I would recommend for everyone, different, whether it's, relationships with a significant other, with its kids, people at work, friends. Relationships are really, really important. Money is always going to be around to benefit us and to cause us trouble in not having enough or wanting more or obtaining money, those types of things. It causes stress. Illnesses can be something that does that. Just aging in general. Our body's not working as well as they used to can cause us stress. Mental health issues and any types of change. And there's thousands of different things that is constantly pulling water out of your reservoir. And so it's good to know what those are, and it's good to address those so that we can find ways to fill back up that reservoir. So just like there's thousands of ways that take it out, hopefully there's more or even more important ones that put them back in. I like to start with 5. And I talk to a lot of my clients, most of my clients, anybody that's talking to me about stress. These 5 are the top of the list of what I believe benefits people. In all the books and research that you'll see, these 5 are up there. They're simple, but really, really beneficial. So sleep. If you're not sleeping, it's a lot more likely that you're going to be stressed. Sleeping plays a huge role in how we feel every day. One of the worst things we can do is not get adequate sleep. These first 3 kind of go together. So exercise. So if you're not getting good sleep, then it's going to be a lot harder to exercise. And we know that the recommendation is that we should try to get at least 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week is what the recommendation is. More is actually better than that. 30 to 60 minutes would be fantastic. But 30 minutes is a good starting point. And that helps us to function successfully. That helps us to feel good about our bodies. And that helps our bodies to do the things that they need to do. So exercise is truly important for us. Eating healthy is a very, very important thing. It's a lot easier to eat healthy if you're going to bed on time, if you have energy from exercising, and you're feeling pretty good. So these three go together. If you eat well, then it's a lot more likely that your body's going to fill up to exercising. So those three, like I said, is kind of a circle of helping us to be successful. And then communicating your stress is truly, truly important to not just to anyone, and I wouldn't even say to everybody. I would say communicating your stress to people that you trust and that have built a relationship with you is the people that those communications should happen. Significant others, important family members, best friends. Those are the people that you should communicate these things to. Work stress, maybe that's a boss that you're going to communicate to and get some support with. So communicating your stress is truly important. Doing things that you enjoy, having things to look forward to. I know right now in the world that we're living in, it's a little bit more difficult to do some of these things that we enjoy. Travel, has kind of been restricted. For me, sporting events or concerts or things like that I really enjoy have been restricted. And hopefully those are starting to open up, and hopefully they're opening up safely. And as you guys know lots about that stuff now in our day. But even if you can't do those big things, I want you to find small things that you can do, right now, this week, tonight, whatever that you enjoy. For me, I've been watching the Jazz, and that's been good and bad, as you know, but that's an important thing for me. It's something that I really like. I like spending time with my wife and doing things, and going on walks and exercising. And, if you like golfing, there's things that you could do with that currently. But if you're not having a lot of those things, I would tell you to sit down, after this, tonight, and come up with some things that you can do that are small and that are bigger that you can look forward to doing and that you could do right now or in the future. It is okay to plan this great trip that's going to happen next year sometime or whatever. But I really, probably most important right now, I want you to find some things that you're excited about and that you can do. So I know there's been a couple comments. So some people, talk about the gym a little bit, and the gym is, a place that I go. I love going to the gym, and I usually used to try to go every morning. I currently am not going to the gym. There's tons of other ways to get exercise that's not the gym. there's lots of workout videos on YouTube. There's, Beachbody. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but they have programs that you can do on demand like Netflix, but it's workouts, whether that's P90X or 21 Day Fix or, tons and tons of different workouts. You can get a yoga DVD and do yoga at your house. You could get some little dumbbells. You can go outside and walk. You could run. You could bike. All of those things are still exercise and still great. So like I said, making a list of things that you enjoy, maybe make a list of how I could get exercise that might be exciting. I recently played pickleball for the first time, and I think you can social distance if that's what you're thinking about while doing that. And that was real enjoyable for me. I had an exercise watch on, and in an hour and a half, I burned 1,800 calories. That's a lot of exercise that you guys can find. So there's lots of different ways. Right now, we have to be a little bit more creative than maybe we had to be in the past. So I get that for sure. So volunteering is something that you can do. Like I said, maybe a little bit different right now. Maybe it's volunteering to get groceries. You know, could be something you could volunteer to do. Like I said, this time in our lives probably requires a little bit more creativity. Being outside is truly important. You know, being able to say no is an important word in our language, and helping us to keep boundaries. Doing too many things and being overwhelmed by always saying yes is going to leave us depleted and not doing things that are important or that could be really beneficial. There's so many good things in the world to do. I want you guys to pick the best and to do the ones that are most important to you and that are most impactful. Finding things to be in charge of, planning ways to address stressful things. If you're stressed out at work, I would want you to sit down, write why you're stressed at work. Really think about that. You know, put it on your phone, write it on a piece of paper, type it up. Why am I stressed at work? What's causing me to do that? And then, what are some things I can actually do? What can I be in charge of that's going to help to reduce some of that stress? So really, really beneficial. This is kind of that CBT idea, trying to view it differently. Organizing your time is hugely important. And, you know, laughing more, like we talked about, laughing is very important, a really beneficial thing. As much as possible, trying to leave work at work. That's an interesting one now, where lots of people have worked at home or are still working at home. I know I worked at home for about 5 months this year. And I still do that, you know, a couple times a week. And so being able to shut work off when it's done, you know, for me, that's usually around 5 o'clock. I try not to look at my emails or do anything else after hours unless I'm on call and have to. All of those other things can wait until I need to work again tomorrow. And so that time is my time to do some of those things that I enjoy, is my time to communicate some of those stress. So I put off work until tomorrow so that I can do the things that's going to help me to be ready and excited to go back again. So treadmill of life idea, something to kind of think about. So if you're on this treadmill of life and you're getting tired, you know, if you think about a normal treadmill, when we're running on a treadmill or walking and we're getting tired, we slow the treadmill down. We turn the incline down. We do all those types of things. In life, when we're getting overwhelmed and stress is getting too much, we do an opposite thing. We think, well, I can get up earlier and I'll have to work a little bit more. Or I just don't have time to exercise anymore, so I'm gonna work instead, or I'm gonna do this instead. I used to go to lunch with my friends, and now I'm not gonna do that because I'm just too busy. I'm too busy with life. And so what happens is we actually are speeding up the treadmill by doing those things, because those things were the things that were helping us to cope with stress in life. And now we've sped up the treadmill. And before long, you know, we turn out to look like this. I know you've all seen these on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, whatever you're using nowadays. And this is what happens when we don't slow the treadmill down. And it can look worse than that. It can look like anxiety. It can look like depression. It can look like suicidal thoughts. It can look like really difficult conversations with your significant other. It can look like, you know, work issues. And so all of these things are smashing into the treadmill of life. And so make sure you're doing some of those things to calm life down. An easy way I want you guys to think about that is, you know, kind of this, while you're getting, you know, say you're getting gas, or even when you get in the car and you're looking at your little gas tank and how much gas you have in there, or your battery on your phone, whatever it is you want to use. But what I want you to evaluate is, am I running on empty? what is my reservoir looking like? And the gas tank kind of is a reminder of that. Am I in the middle? If I'm in the middle, what can I do to improve, the gas in my gas tank, the water in my reservoir? What do I need to do to fill that back up a little bit? There's, if you're at the top, great. What do I need to keep doing to be successful? And so kind of looking at and evaluating, it does take, we've talked about this a little bit, it takes a little bit of evaluation and coming up with a new plan that can benefit with some of these things. So, yeah, so it looks like somebody's talking about a really good app on there that can talk about workouts and everything. So thanks for posting that. Sources of support. Remember, I told you that supports are really important. The most important is whoever you feel like is a support to you. Like I said, family, friends, religious leaders, supervisors, coworkers, doctors, and your therapist for sure. The EAP is here to be a support to you, to help you with any of that. And so, if you're just dealing with a little bit of stress or you need somebody to talk to, that's what the EAP is for. We're really happy to be a part of that. Setting goals is a huge one for me that seems to be really beneficial. I like to find out what's causing this stress and then set goals to reduce it. And if I was to reduce it, how would life be better? What would be different about that? And sometimes it's setting this big goal. And what I would tell people is, okay, well, what is the little goals that lead up to that? Because it's real, rather than being overwhelmed about, well, I want to save this amount of money, or I want to get my car paid off, or I really want to, be able to communicate a lot better with my wife or my husband. Set little goals to be able to do that. What's going to help you to make some progress in that? And those little goals can really help you to make some progress and be more successful with that. So I'm all about goals and setting goals. It's something, like I said, it's really beneficial for me, and hopefully it's beneficial for you. This is kind of an interesting idea. So it's, these are the factors that influence chronic happiness in people. So 50% of people that are chronically happy, and I'm going to tell you why happiness is so important, but 50% of them, they're born that way. That's a genetic thing that helps them to be happy and to do that most of the time. And so my mom is one of those. And then there's the other, so 10% of people that are happy, they're happy because of circumstances. They're happy because of the things that we think make people happy. So they have a nice car, or they have this great job, or they have the perfect family, or what, things are just going great in their lives. So circumstances that people can reach. So only 10% of the reason the people that are chronically happy, they're happy because of those things. So for one, we probably put too much stock in that stuff. So 40% of the other people that are chronically happy, they're happy because intentional activities, because of things that they do. And so this is a really good thing that can reduce stress. Happiness reduces stress and helps us to handle things more. So I'm going to tell you about one more TED Talk. And this guy, Sean Accor, I love his TED Talk also. His TED Talk's called The Happy Secret to Better Work. And then he has a book called The Happiness Advantage. So if you're interested in this, like I said, great TED Talk. He's enjoyable to listen to. It's kind of a fun personality and everything. So these 5 things are things that help people to be happier. These are the intentional activities, and they're simple things. And his quote down there at the bottom of, your brain at positive is 31% more productive than your brain at negative, neutral, or stressed. And so our brains work 31% better when we're positive. You're 31% more likely to communicate more effectively if you're able to be positive and happy. You're 31% more likely to achieve the things that you want if you're positive and excited about it. And so that's why these things can come in handy and can really, really reduce stress. So we're going to talk about them a little bit more specifically, but that was a list. So how do we choose happiness? So this is it. So, 3 acts of gratitude. So, and I would tell you, it'd be great to write these down each evening, or if you like to do it at dinner, or with your kids, you talk about those. That could be fantastic, a great thing to do. You could put it in your phone if you want. But these gratitudes, that I want them to be specific. So I wouldn't want you to say, well, it's my husband. It would be okay if you said it's your husband, but I want you to say, why is it your husband today? Well, I came home and he was doing the dishes, or he really helped with the kids, or when I got home, he said something nice to me. He said, I look good today. Whatever it was, I want you to be specific, and then it could be the same thing if it's a specific thing. So same thing about your job or anything else. And we'd love for you to do this for at least 21 days. One idea with 21 days, obviously it turns into a habit. If you do it for 21 days and it's important to you, then it can form a habit in your brain that's just a physical connection. Your brain is set up to make habits. So we want this to become a habit for you, but that's one of the ways to choose happiness. Another one's called the doubler. And so for 2 minutes each day, I want you to think about one positive experience that occurred that day. So this is only 2 minutes, and you want to write down, you want to think about anything, any of the details that made that a good experience. It helps us to focus on the positive, even in difficult circumstances. One interesting thing about our brains is they can't really tell the difference between if it's happening right now or if we're just visualizing it happening. And so that can be really beneficial for us and can bring back a lot of those really great feelings. So this is your exercise one. This says the fun 15. So I told you 30 minutes, and even more than 30 minutes would be great. But 30 minutes kind of at a minimum. If you were jogging or running, 15 minutes might do it. But I would suggest, and people, in the exercise and health community would suggest 30 minutes is the number. But he puts 15 on there just as kind of a beginner that everybody could do. To me, exercise is kind of like it's for sure our body's way of getting an antidepressant without putting an antidepressant in our body. It's kind of nature's way of doing that. It increases our mood and helps us to, those endorphins that make us feel good. So that it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a replacement for antidepressants, which sometimes, exercise can be real important, and some people do, but I'm not suggesting that. I'm not your doctor. You talk to them about that, but it does release those endorphins and everything, and helps us to feel good, all throughout the day. Another way to choose happiness is just breathing. It's taking your hands off the keyboard for a couple minutes or off of a game or whatever you're doing, and just do some deep breathing. When I teach people how to do that, I talk about inhaling for 4 seconds and holding it for 4 seconds and exhaling for 4 seconds. If you do that 10 times in a row, there's a lot of really serious, good consequences, good pros of that. And these are just a couple of them. Drops your stress level, reduces your heart rate. All of these things can be really beneficial just by taking a moment to do some deep breathing. Can be really, really good. The last one that improves our happiness is actually conscious acts of kindness. So doing something for someone else. And I would suggest spending a couple minutes each day thinking about how to do that, and then do that. right now, when more people may be at home or we're not around each other as much, sending a text or an email thanking them for the help that they've given you, thanking them for being a good support, texting your mom and telling her what she's meant to you. All of these different things, your significant other, can be a small thing, this conscious act of kindness that can do a huge thing that can help you to feel a ton better. When I was going to the gym back before all of this craziness happened, I remember I was running on a treadmill, and there's a lady that was running on a treadmill right next to me, and I have never seen her before and probably will never see her again. And I noticed that she had one of these really nice, whether it's a Yeti bottle or Contigo, or it was a really nice bottle. And I didn't know for sure if it was hers or not, but I knew that, she stopped running while I was there, and she went and picked up her coat and was leaving. And like I said, I didn't know if it was hers or not, but I hurried and got off my treadmill and grabbed the bottle and kind of jogged up to her and just said, "Hey, is this your bottle?" And it turned out that it was, and I gave it to her, and she said thanks. And I went back and ran on my treadmill. And like I said, I wouldn't even know her if I saw her again. But the rest of the day, I felt good about that. I felt good about that decision of I could be a helper. I could do something good, and it was just a small, tiny thing. And so those are the little things that we're talking about. Doing something small is going to help to reduce stress in your life and is going to make you so much happier. Smiles, little things can go a long, long way. So that's our presentation for you guys. Any comments, any questions that you guys have that you'd like to know about stress? And one has, would anybody else feel awkward holding the door open for 2 minutes for someone? Maybe if you're sitting there for 2 minutes holding them, that might be too much, but maybe if you saw people coming in behind you, opening the door for them would obviously be fantastic. You probably don't have to spend 2 minutes every day thinking about it. Hopefully throughout the day you can find some things that you can just do. Every once in a while in the past, I'll find one good thing, and then I'll be like, that's the good thing I did today. Now I don't have to do anything else, as a joke. But ultimately, like I said, most of the time you're not going to have to spend that time. But some of the time, say you're just sitting at your desk at work, who could I text today? Who would be somebody that would like to hear from me? Who could I make a quick phone call to and tell them that they're important? Who could I thank at my job that's really been helping me to be successful, or I'm lucky to be working with? It's little things that you can do. I was at a restaurant, and this is one thing that, in knowing this information, I've tried to really work on. And in the past, I've seen things happen and I felt awkward, about not doing it, or about even doing it. So I was, walking to my table in a restaurant, and there was a server that was walking by and was carrying all these things on a tray. And they dropped, a fork or a knife or whatever. And so instead of even thinking about it, because I've gotten a little bit more into the habit, I just reached down, picked it up, put it on her tray, and she said thanks, and we smiled and went upon, and I went to my table, and it wasn't a big deal. But inside, I felt like that's the person that I want to be. I want to be the person that's helping other people out, rather than somebody that would just walk on by because it would be awkward to do a good thing. So in that word awkward and holding the door maybe for a couple minutes, yes. Waiting for somebody to drop stuff, yes, that would be awkward. But as you go about your day doing things, you're going to see things that you could do to help. So any other questions or comments that you guys have about stress or Blomquist-Hell or anything else that you would like to know about? Cool. Well, thank you very much for being here. and, you know, go out there, reduce stress, manage stress, and I hope that you guys are doing great. Take care of yourselves.